Since October 7th, Israel has been at war. Israel did not start this war. Israel did not want this war. But Israel will win this war.
This is Israel's Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu. He declared war after more than 1,000 Israelis got killed by a surprise attack by Hamas fighters.
Today, Israel battled to repel a surprise invasion of its territory. Thousands of rockets were fired into Israel as gunmen infiltrated several border towns and bases, kidnapping civilians and soldiers.
What happened? Why did Hamas attack? And can this conflict come to an end? We provide background today at We Are Jaws.
Conflict erupted between Israel and Hamas on 7th of October. Early in the morning, air raid sirens went off in Israel as rockets targeted the nation. Israeli Defense Forces estimate that nearly 2,000 rockets were fired. Hamas was the attacking party. Hamas claims that it fired nearly 5,000 rockets. Israel's claimed Iron Dome defense system was overwhelmed and it failed. As a consequence, thousands of Israelis were killed or injured due to the rocket attacks. Hamas executed a multi-pronged attack from various fronts, ground, sea, and air. They also took more than 200 hostages. In the aftermath, Israel declared a state of war. Israel has now started an air raid campaign against Gaza, and in the latest news, they've even started a ground operation. The situation in Gaza has been dire due to continuous bombardment, and there are several civilian casualties. Footage reveals several neighborhoods in Gaza turned to rubble. In the ensuing aftermath, Israel forces are now pushing deeper into Gaza in an effort to root out Hamas.
So how could this conflict happen? This is where we need to understand the history of the region. The roots of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict can be traced back to the late 19th and early 20th century. Jewish immigration began arriving in Palestine, fleeing regions where Jews were being persecuted. At the time, Palestine was part of the Ottoman Empire. As Jewish immigration increased, tensions between the Jews and the Arab population grew. During World War I, Britain conquered the region. Under British rule, Jewish migration increased, especially with the rise of Hitler and the Holocaust. After the Second World War, Britain's colonial ambitions decreased. That means that Britain handed over the Palestine issue to the United Nations due to escalating tensions in the region. What the United Nations did was that in 1947, they proposed a plan to partition the region. They allocated 57% of the land to the Jews and 43% of the land to Palestinians, with Jerusalem under international control. The Jews liked the plan and accepted it, and formed Israel in 1948. However, Arab nations opposed the plan, resulting in the first Arab-Israeli war on the very first day of Israel independence. Given Israel won that war against the surrounding Arab nations, it conquered more land. Post-war borders were different from the original United Nations plan. Over the coming decades, in the 1950s, in the 1960s, more wars followed. Israel's strong military, it took control of several regions, including the Sinai Peninsula and the Gaza Strip, the Golan Heights and the West Bank, and it also took control of East Jerusalem and Jerusalem as a whole. In an effort to restore peace in the region, in 1978, the Camp David Accords led to peace between two major players, Israel and Egypt. Israel agreed to complete withdrawal from the Sinai Peninsula, which it had occupied since the Six-Day War in 1967. Following such event, Israel and neighboring states gradually made peace, even if they never formally signed peace treaties. However, Israel was still occupying the Gaza Strip and West Bank, which was home to many Palestinians.
Even after the peace accords, hostilities remained. Extremist elements on both sides were not happy with the achieved outcomes. In Palestine, in 1987, it led to the creation of Hamas. Hamas positioned itself as an Islamist and nationalist force, in contrast to the secular party which controlled Palestine. There were further attempts at peace. The Oslo Accords in 1993 were signed, which was a framework of agreement between Israel and the Palestinian Liberation Organization. This was a very symbolic moment where Israeli Prime Minister Rabin and the PLO chairman Yasser Arafat shook hands on the White House lawn. They both won the Nobel Peace Prize. This, however, made extremist elements in the Hamas organization extremely unhappy, which actually led to the assassination of the Israeli Prime Minister. In 2006, Hamas participated in Palestinian legislative elections, and they actually secured a surprising victory. This is where we talk about present-day Gaza, which you can see on the map. This is a small strip of land, about 365 square kilometers. One of the most densely populated regions in the world, with 2.3 million residents and more than half being children. Prior to the war, Gaza was already in poor living conditions, which is further exacerbated as a consequence of the current situation. The situation in Gaza is extremely dire. There exists a ban on the import of goods and services into the area. Most people are prevented from even leaving the territory. This is reflected in a very high unemployment rate in the area of near 50%. Recent polls show that increasing number of residents support Hamas, which some argue is due to the bad situation that the area is in. And if we talk about today, Israel has further restricted the import of goods and services, and there's a full blockade in the area which restricts the movement of people, and the living condition of people has been further made worse. Moreover, there are bombardments in the area, which has led to the killing of several civilians. So you may ask, what is going to happen next? This has the possibility of becoming a multi-pronged war, with Iran potentially also getting involved, with skirmishes of Israel with Hezbollah on the West Bank. There has been increasing pressure from the West and from all the countries across for peace, but the situation is tumultuous and is evolving day by day.